Today's poll of the day, ladies and gentlemen. So today's poll of the day, right now, again, as always, you guys are more than welcome to participate on my Twitter account. Follow at Barcelona Philly. It's going to dive into today's main topic of discussion. So, in Philadelphia, there's a lot of narratives. A lot of narratives that go around in the city of Philadelphia, especially surrounding our sports teams in Philly. So, who creates the most narratives surrounding our Philadelphia sports? Options are the fans, the national media, the local media, or the players. Right now, leading the way with 62.5% of the votes is the national media. And in second place is the local media with 37.5%. No votes for the fans or the players. But I had to ask this question here today because this is the topic that I'm just seeing everyone bringing up and talking about. And rightfully so. Rightfully so. It does get frustrating. We get painted in a bad light. And so I'm going to talk about where this stems from. So this article, and there's many articles out there by many different writers in the Philadelphia area, that are covering the Philadelphia Eagles. So the article that I'm going to pull up right now is from Ed Kratz, which I didn't realize Ed tweeted that much, but shit, Eddie be tweeting, you feel me? Of course, he wants to ignore what he put up here. All right, so here is the article. So Ed Kratz writes for SI.com. I mean, I think honestly, like this kind of painted the best picture. Regarding response to the fans to this story, why do you think A.J. Brown said this? I wish the fans would stop trying to choose and just enjoy both of us while both of us have fun. So we talked about this yesterday during the show about the press conference, about putting the A.J. Brown fans against the Devontae Smith fans, and this whole, honestly, like something I've never heard of. I've definitely heard before in Philadelphia, people picking one. I mean, I think as recently we had this with Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, or Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts. More so Carson Wentz and Nick Foles, but this doesn't typically happen. Like we're not fans of players, we're fans of the team, and if the player helps their team, that's who we're a fan of. Both A.J. Brown and both Devontae Smith have helped his team. I've never really heard of fans choosing sides of whether they're team Devontae or team A.J. Brown. And so that's where a lot of the discussion does come up here. You know, it's just, it does seem like, and from, if you heard the Ruben Frank question from yesterday with A.J. Brown, you know, Ruben kind of pointed at the fans, you know, how do you feel about the fans trying to pick between you and Devontae Smith? And it's like, I mean, look, barroom talk is normal. It happens all the time. Like, dude, you always are talking with your buddies and you're debating this player or that player. You know, what if T.O. was in this all? Like different stuff like that. We are always debating. That stuff is normal. But I never heard fans picking A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith as wide receiver number one. I think for the most part, because of the history, especially like my age group, like, dude, you look at my age group, I had Donovan McNabb as my quarterback as a kid. Fantastic quarterback at that time period. This man had to throw to Charles Johnson, James Thrash, Todd Pinkston, Greg Lewis. The list of inept wide receivers goes on. And until we saw what he was with a legitimate wide receiver like Terrell Owens. So I think Philadelphia fans 110% are appreciative of what we have here in Philadelphia. But that doesn't mean that we haven't had stories in the past. Look, I mean, earlier this year, you had ESP trying to create the narrative that Hassan Reddick should be deserve and wants more money. Like that was something that was totally created by him. The whole Trey Turner stuff. I mean, you heard Joe Giglio with all his hot takes on Trey Turner. I mean, I remember the Ben Simmons stuff throughout, you know, leading up to 20. I'm not even talking about 2021. I'm talking about leading up to 2021. Man doesn't want to shoot. Man doesn't practice shooting. Even like the Markelle Fultz one. The Markelle Fultz one was interesting because Markelle was a kid that just gets drafted in here. And obviously the expectations were there because he was the number one overall pick. But this man was getting ripped apart and we didn't know what was going on internally. And at the end of the day, we forgot that this was a 19-year-old kid that gets selected number one overall in the NBA draft. And now he's got to be the future of this franchise, who, by the way, was ready to win at the moment. It's not like he's going into a situation where it's a rebuild and his room for error is there. With Philly, it was slim to none. And that's why he got traded so early in his career to Orlando. I'm gonna say it like this: the media has a job to not only to entertain, but to also provide the information at hand. At the end of the day, writing has turned into entertainment. Before, writing was is a place where you go get information. You need information, you go to the news, you go to your newspaper, you watch the 6 o'clock news, and you go and get the information. But today's day and age, with social media, everyone is looking to get entertained. Everyone wants that drama. Everyone wants that wow factor. What's going to be that headline that gravitates you? And that's kind of where media's at right now. So yes, when you see articles of, AJ Brown fans versus Devontae Smith fans, that writer's going to put that out there. Why? Because he's got to pay the bills. It is just the reality of media in 2023. Is that right or wrong? That's up for debate, but that's the reality of the situation. I think for sure this is a type of story that they're reaching for, but I think that the reality of the situation is that this is unfortunate what we have right now. Now, you guys have the absolute right not to listen to it. And oh, by the way, there are plenty, and I'm talking a plethora of different media outlets that provide you what you want. If you want hot take culture, there's an outlet for it. If you want true, brutal honesty, there's an outlet for that. I myself like to mix reality with entertainment, but I don't do the hot take. Anytime you hear me speak, it's from my genuine, honest opinion. If it seems as a hot take, that's your perception, but I want to speak honestly. And also, I like to have fun. Like, there's no harm in that. That's what I do. And if you like that, that's why you're here. But if you don't like that, then there's other places for you to go. But that's just where media is here today. Now, speaking of media, today is a big day here for the NFL and for these players. It is the cut down day. In about an hour and 4 minutes Eastern time, these NFL rosters will have to be cut down to 53 men. So we will see what happens here at 4 p.m. What we'll have. So far, we do have some movement. Britton Covey, gone. Devin Allen, gone. Greg Ward, gone. Aaron Sipas, gone. Who else am I missing here? Let me grab. Because we just, in the midst of recording, we had some more cuts as well. But those were the main ones so far. Trey Sermon, before I hopped on, gone. Josiah Scott, gone. Obviously, these moves does not mean that these guys are gone for good. You always see guys getting cut and the teams kind of testing the waters out there and seeing what's available. And then, there are instances where those guys come back. Practice squad option is another option as well. So that definitely are things you could see as well. But for right now, those are some of I don't see anything new. Brady Russell, who was the 5th or 6th tight end, he got cut about an hour ago. This is funny. I think he's got a YouTube channel. I haven't really seen his stuff, but JC Sports goes, breaking news: the same fans who are trying to split our receivers apart are the same fans that will never root for Jalen Hurts regardless of the success. That's funny. Yeah, dude. You know what? Throw the shade at the media, man. I'm all for it, man. It's hilarious. Oh my God. All right. Whatever. All right. I honestly do not see any more news. So those are some of the cuts that we do have right now. The Josiah Scott one does make sense. Isaiah Rodgers, if you saw yesterday, he did get picked up here by the Birds. He's a guy who was suspended last year, gambling implications. So it's not really too bright here. But obviously, Howie, Nick, and the front office did their due diligence, did their research, and they're going to bring this guy who, by the way, man's got a lot of – I think it was a starting cornerback for the Colts before all the shenanigans. So you bring him in here on you're on a short lease, my friend. You want a job? Come in. He is suspended still, from my understanding. But this is so like Eagles, like under Laurie. How many times have you seen guys with bad character? Not so much like Chip Kelly and the beginning part of Doug Peterson, but in the latter part, testing out guys with character issues, and it works out. And the reason why you can do that is because you built a culture. Now, I don't know where his head's at. Obviously, gambling with players is a new thing. You didn't really hear about this 5-10 years ago. Now it's becoming more of a thing because of all the gambling laws that are becoming more accessible to everybody. But it is interesting to say the least. It is interesting to say the least. Again, Howie's like 3 steps ahead while everyone's still behind. All right. So that is just how Howie Roseman's rolling. So if we do get listen, and I need your guys' help. And TikTok, don't be sleeping on me fucking today. All right. Wake the fuck up. You up? If there's any news, please drop it in the section in the comment sections. In about a couple minutes, we're gonna start our union talk here. We're gonna have Mike Barrera here in just a minute here. What we're gonna come in, so we're gonna talk about that. But any news with the Birds, with the roster cuts, please drop it in the comment sections. I will look at it. We just went over everything up to date. Everything's up to date. Josiah Scott gone. What do we say? Devin Allen, Britton Covey, Trey Sermon, Greg Ward, all cut. So if you guys see any more happening, we still have an hour. We have an exact hour here before we get to the end of it.